Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu has directed KNEC to upload the results of the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment KPSEA into school portals in January. Now, speaking during the release of this year's KCPE exam results, Machogu said that KPSEA results won't be used for placement in junior secondary schools, but will help to evaluate the learners' strengths and weaknesses. The Cabinet Secretary also revealed that next year's KCPE exams will be the last as the government phases out the 844 system of learning. Mary Mwoki tells us more.
Celebrations broke out across the country as KCPE candidates celebrated the release of their results, the second last under the 844 system. Although the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and Kenya Primary School Education Assessment national exams were administered concurrently, the more than 1.2 million grade 6 learners who sat KPSEA will have to wait a little longer to receive their results, as Education CS Ezekiel Machogu said they will be posted on schools' website by January.
I have directed the Kenya National Examination Council to upload the report of the assessment on the school portals in January 2023 to enable schools to develop strategies of further learning and teaching.
KNEC CEO David Njengere says the exam body will report on KPSEA at 3 levels and that the results will not be used for placement of learners in junior secondary schools, but rather will be utilized in the process of monitoring learner progress.
KNEC will report on KPSEA at 3 levels as follows. There will be a report on individual learners for the summative assessment. There will be a school-specific report, and there will be a national report on school-based and summative assessments. The national report will provide feedback to education stakeholders on areas that require intervention. The report will indicate the proportion of learners at each of the performance levels per subject.
But the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers KUPPET has criticized the treatment of KPSEA candidates, saying the lack of recognition is demoralizing to learners who sat exams under the same conditions as KCPE candidates.
The candidates did exams under same circumstances, just like the KCPE. They are already going to junior secondary school. And it has been a practice that when you're going to junior secondary school, you must have done some exams. So the minister ought to have treated us to some kind of celebrating this transition.
This year's KCPE is the second last, signaling the end of the 844 system as the country fully embraces the competency-based curriculum. This year's inaugural KPSEA ushers in the 2633 system. In line with the transition, the Teachers Service Commission has said the commission will develop guidelines on deployment of teachers to junior secondary schools. TSC CEO Nancy Macharia says the commission has embarked on building the capacity of teachers who will be tasked with handling junior secondary.
And following the directive of His Excellency the President, that junior secondary school be domiciled in primary school, the TSC has moved quickly to develop guidelines on staff to handle the learners who will be joining grade 7. So apart from the 30,000 that we shall be employing, we shall also be developing guidelines on those others that we shall be deploying to help in that grade. These guidelines will be released to stakeholders in January.
Education CS Ezekiel Machogu has formed a multi-agency committee to draft guidelines that will shepherd the transition of CBC learners from lower primary to junior secondary. The committee is expected to draft guidelines that will effectively ensure a seamless transition from primary school grade 6 to junior secondary school, facilitate effective leadership and management of junior secondary school, promote consistency in the implementation of the junior secondary school curriculum, including teaching and learning and assessment. ensure the provision of adequate, appropriate and safe physical infrastructure and a learner-friendly environment for all learners, including those with special needs and disabilities. Ensure the provision of adequate and well-prepared human resources to facilitate curriculum delivery for junior secondary school. Outline the roles and responsibilities of key stakeholders in the implementation of the various components of junior secondary school. In his directive following the report of the CBC Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, President Ruto advised that the junior secondary schools be domiciled in the existing primary schools. Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.